masculine, feminine, and non-binary energy update. We are going to be starting right now with the headspace of masculine. We are going to be utilizing the Tarot del Fuego for the headspace of masculine right now. Can I please get 3 cards? Highest priority messages, please. 1, 2, 3. What do we have coming through right now? We have here the Ace of Cups in its upright, in combination with our Death card in its reversal, in combination with the 9 of Cups in its upright. So what are we effectively seeing that's occurring right now with a lot of this energy? One of the things that we're going to continue to move through right now, and it's very difficult, is working in the context of this combination force of Jupiter retrograding in Cancer in combination with the Uranus station retrograding in Taurus, is working into the context of building into the sense of identifying and recognizing the feeling of one's own vulnerability. There's a lot of this energy that we're effectively seeing here. And the one thing I keep on seeing, and it's interesting too, because the word that keeps on coming through right now as I'm reading into this energy is nurturing, right? What is the word? What do we see with nurturing? Nurturing is working into the context of being able to effectively take care of one another. And I feel like there's something that's really interesting because for a lot of the masculine, we often see the desire to build into a nurturing relationship. But what's interesting about the word nurture is that the space by which masculine themselves works on connecting to their own natural nurturing is often the ability to effectively identify and recognize the value and power of being able to do something, but not just the space of being able to do something, the space by which we ourselves are able to effectively build into that sense of being energetically protective about things. And it's interesting too because I feel like there's something beautiful that I see that's happening right now in relationality to masculine, recognizing the value of being energetically nurtured in the context of another person, helping us recognize and identify our own energetic blind spots is what I keep on seeing. Right. And this is why this is why we work to do this is why we build into the context of working to have a healthy ego. Right. Because when we are being energetically nurtured, we effectively help each other see things that we cannot effectively see. And so that ability, and when we show each other, when we help each other see things that we can't effectively see, we effectively allow the expansion point in being able to understand and identify something more, right? It's the expansiveness of energetic possibility. And this is what we effectively identify that is happening for a lot of that energy, right? Working into the space of the masculine that articulates that when they're in it, like never are you being cared for more than when another person is being conscientious of your own energetic blind spots, right? The modality by which we effectively allow ourselves to see more. But this is why it's so important that we do that work in relationality to being able to heal, because in the space by which we work to heal, it is conducive and necessary for our own ability to navigate. And this is the thing that's important about it. The unhealed egoic self doesn't want any kind of scrutiny, right? It's often the recognition point that we understand the difference between a healthy ego and an unhealthy ego is the ability of being able to effectively take that energetic note. Because what effectively happens, and I feel like this is how a lot of the masculine energy is working on healing, right? This is often the sound of losing or moving away from the best thing that's ever energetically happened to you in the past when you're too much in your ego and in the space of another person trying to effectively show you something. But then in the context of not being in the space of being able to recognize and see it, right? What do we often come into? That fragmentation that occurs in the space of another person trying to energetically nurture us. And what's beautiful about this energy that we're seeing right now is a lot of the energy doing that work is getting, I keep on hearing, is getting better at recognizing, nurturing, found, right? Nurturing found in conversations. I keep on hearing nurturing that's found in critical conversations that effectively help us recognize and identify the strength and force of our own intentions. There's something really there's something really beautiful and lovely there. But at the same time, I also see that this is potentially a lot of the masculine energy that is working to forgive themselves for experiences or modalities in the past wherein, right? And this is what we see, like I keep on hearing when the egoic self gets too, right? When the egoic self gets too broad, that often creates the space, right? And I like to point this out, like you can usually tell when an ego is too expansive in the space by which you can hear less and less through it, right? Like that's the modality by which we often interpret. And so I feel like there's a lot of the masculine that's doing that work, and it's and this is exactly the type of work that we would expect with Jupiter in retrograding in Cancer and Uranus retrograding in Taurus, right? The understanding of being able to recognize and identify that feeling of energetic stability that comes through the ability to recognize and identify what one is getting better at perceiving. Now, this brings us to the feminine energy. And for feminine energy right now, we're going to be utilizing the Nouveau Tarot. Can I get 3 cards, please? And one more. Thank you. We've got here the Page of Swords in its reversal, the Two of Cups in its upright, as well as the Empress card in its upright. So what are we effectively seeing that's occurring right now for a lot of the feminine energy? This is, again, not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. I feel like for a lot of the feminine energy, this is working into this is working into the context or the ability to articulate and recognize what feels energetically balanced. There's a lot of Libra energy that I'm picking up right now in this feminine reading. And the reason I'm seeing a lot of that, like that Libra energy, is this is a continuation of feminine recognizing and identifying the significance and value of emotions. And this is a continuation of that journey that we see that is happening right now between Mercury being in such close proximity to Venus and Mars being in such close proximity to Pluto, right? Emotions don't fix things. Fixing things fixes things. Emotions allow us the context of energetic discernment, right? And the modality by which we do our work, right? We heal our emotions by making sure that our emotions have healthy directions attached to them. And when we are doing the work to effectively identify and recognize the emotions that have healthy directions attached to them, then the ability to give them to another builds into the context of energetic discernment, because it is the way that another person is able to navigate or work through, right? Like working through the energetic concern that helps us learn, right? That helps us learn what feels energetically supportive versus something that we're working to heal from. And I like this energy around feminine, because especially with that 2 of Cups that's centered in their reading right now, it gives us a lot of that understanding in recognition of working through. I keep on hearing this is energy of feminine that is not working, like, not focusing so much in terms of rushing through things. I keep on hearing, like, it's about tracking progress. It's about being able to do something in an incremental way, and in the process of doing so, healing, right? Healing from any modality by which they used to be hard on themselves for not being perfect. And I think that there's something really lovely about that, because for a lot of the feminine, I just keep on seeing perfection is found in learning, and perfection is found in the journey of learning. And the hard part about learning is that often when one is working to learn, one gets frustrated at oneself, right? One gets frustrated at oneself for what one couldn't see before, or something that one is working through that's sometimes built into the context of getting too hard on the self. And so this is a lot of, I keep on hearing, this is a lot of the feminine energy that is working into that feeling of energetic adaptability. And even in the context by which they're building into that adaptability, I keep on seeing that this is like, it's giving me a lot of this like steady as she goes kind of energy, right? It's saying to a certain extent, like, I feel like there's something there's some, and it feels very similar to what we can often expect with a Leo full moon coming up, which is the modality by which we recognize that when we are doing things when we are doing things with the best of intention, the ability to perceive, right? That, and I like to point this out, like, this is how we can tell the shape of our projection. The shape of our projection is such that when we are doing something with the best of energetic intention, and even in the modality by which we're doing everything what one can in the best way possible, somebody will perceive that and create, like, be able to find something energetically negative within it. That always speaks more, right? This is what we talk about with projection. It talks more about the person that articulates that, because it is the reflective point in terms of how another person sees or views the world, right? This is often this is often that conversation we see, and I feel like for a lot of that energy, working through those modalities or experiences, I just keep on seeing, like, this is feminine that's getting a lot better at navigating the fact that as they continue to do something in the best way possible, right? That often, like, the way, like, it's like I keep on hearing, it's not the modality by which you look for praise. You don't look for praise to articulate the right direction. And this is often why we talk about the fact that, like, you have to be conscientious about praise, because often the modality by which one understands, right, the shape of another person, like doing something the best way that one can often trigger another. And in the modality by which we see another person being triggered, that experience, like allowing it to effectively inform us, but not energetically deter us. I just keep on seeing that that's a lot of the feminine that's getting better, right? Like, that's getting better at feeling energetically stabilized in relationality to how they feel. Not only how they feel about what they themselves do, but how they feel in the face of navigating others that are energetically triggered by them, moving towards moving towards what they know is energetically the best direction. And so there, I feel like there's something really important there, because I keep on getting, it's almost articulating or showing the full force and nature of their compassion, right? Now, moving towards non-binary energy, we are gonna be utilizing for non-binary energy right now. We're gonna be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot system for non-binary energy. Can I get 3 cards, please? Thank you. We've got here we've got the Page of Pentacles in its reversal. We have the Lover's card in its reversal, and we have the Temperance card in its reversal. So what are we seeing in those three cards? This is some heavy stuff here. There's more major arcana right now in the non-binary space than we have in the rest of the cards that we pulled so far. And I keep on getting that for a lot of this energy, there's something significant and important as it relates to working. I feel like there's something important as it relates to building into the context of being energetically of working through a sense of healing their own feeling of patience. And everything I keep on seeing in relationality to this energy has to do with the I keep on seeing that this energy often feels like they are energetically ahead of the curve in some way, shape, form. And it's lonely, right? It's a lonely place to be when one is energetically ahead of the curve, because I keep on getting that modality or that experience by which one is always building into the sense of energetically anticipating others' needs. I feel like that's a lot of like, I almost feel like this, and it's interesting too, because it does feel like it's connected. It does feel like it's connected. It's a connection point between the masculine message and the feminine message, which is the energy that's learned to effectively nurture themselves as they're energetically ahead of the curve, because they often feel the modality or the force of intention by which they're trying to move something into the positive direction. But often I feel like it's the force by which I feel like it's almost like the force by which they often feel like they're pulling things, like literally in the space of pulling things. And the reason I feel like there's a lot of that weight and relationality to pulling things, and that's what we can kind of build into with that Uranus in Taurus, which is the energy that often, like I feel like it's often the energy that feels, right? That feels the energetic like space of trying to pull things in the right direction. But I keep on getting like this energy heals by recognizing that their purpose is not always to have to pull things energetically together, is what I keep on seeing. Like for a lot of the energy working through that, I feel like the frustration point, and this is what I keep on getting about this. It says like, and this is what we see, like this energy it has learned to build discernment, and I need to point this out. The ability to see the possibility in different areas cannot demarcate the modality of the energy within it to want to share upon that energetic vision, is what I keep on seeing. And that's a hard part about like that's a hard part that I recognize and identify with a lot of this energy. It's the conversation that often happens in the difference, right? Like the difference between sharing an energetic vision, but not just sharing an energetic vision, having to effectively feel the sense of wanting to allow the context like allowing the context of a vision to come into fruition requires the energy, like requires the ability of others to effectively move in that same energetic direction. And that's what I keep on seeing in relationality to a lot of these experiences, or a lot of these modalities, because I keep on getting that this is the energy, right? This is the energy that has not gotten too inclined with building into the context of trying to help others share their energetic vision. Because I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy doing that work, the ability to recognize and identify And I keep on hearing this, in order for something to grow, you have to energetically let it go, right? And this is what I keep on getting with a lot of this energy. This energy has gotten out of the habit of playing tug of war with another in relationality, trying to move an energetic vision forward, right? This is the energy that looks for generous energy, which is the modality by which another is working through like the experience of wanting, like of wanting to effectively, I keep on hearing like the space by which another person shares the energetic vision is the modality and the experience by which you feel that sense of relief, right? And I like this because like I like to describe like some of this energy has basically become a healthy ego detector, right? And what is like what is a healthy ego detector? It's the ability to see the healthy ego that does not get in the way of the self, right? The modality of being able to work through something, but in such a way that it allows for the context or the adaptability of being able to grow something. But even in the modality of trying to grow something, I feel like there's a lot of that force of intention that often feels like they're working through something in such a way that they often feel energetically frustrated in terms of others' misperceptions as it relates to their ability of trying to be generous in terms of what they apply themselves towards. So I feel like there's a lot of that energy there, and I feel like it's the active conversation that often feels so frustrating because it's working through it's like working through another's misperceptions as you're doing everything you can to try to help another person move towards their best version of self, right? And I feel like for a lot of that energy, they build into they build into counterpart connections that effectively identify and recognize that in order to facilitate healing upon it. Now, moving into back into the masculine energy right now, and we're going to be diving into the heart space right now of masculine, and we're going to be utilizing the tarot of the Nouveau tarot for the heart space of masculine. 3 cards, please. We've got here the Knight of Wands in its reversal. We've got here the Page of Cups in its reversal. And we have here the Queen of Pentacles in its upright. This is all court cards. That's fascinating. Um, yeah, so like what are so I feel like what's happening right now for a lot of the masculine energy is it's working on like I every time I read for masculine right now, I keep on getting the word that keeps on coming through is nurturing. And the reason I keep on getting the word nurture coming through is and I want to describe this. Um nurturing is a very important quality is what we see. Because when we're working to nurture, then and I like this because nurturing is the opposite of coveting, basically, is the best way I can describe it. Because when you're coveting something, you're overly protective of it, right? When you're energetically coveting something, you often create the space by which I keep on hearing it's like the cramping of something. It's the space by which we hold on to something so tightly because we're protective of it that it doesn't have the ability to grow. That's why we articulate upon the fact that coveting is so negative because it's the possessiveness of something that often doesn't allow something to energetically expand. But when we are nurturing, right, when we are energetically nurturing of things, then we are conscientious, right? Then we are conscientious of creating the supportive environment by which and by ways and by means by which another person can effectively arrive and thrive, right? Like when you hear the word nurture, I want you to connect the words arrive and thrive to it, which is the space, the modality or the experience by which we allow for that possibility to energetically emerge. And everything I keep on seeing in relationality to a lot of this work is the masculine that is working to heal by asking themselves, and I almost feel like I see this, like, I feel like I see masculine looking at different relationships and saying, "How am I nurturing this?" Right? How am I energetically nurturing this? And this is a beautiful question that we ask in relationality to energetically healing the ego, because it's a space by which we don't look, right? It's a space by which we don't look at something and say, why isn't it the way I want it to be? Like, I feel like this is a lot of the masculine going through those modalities of being like, "Why isn't it going the way I want it to go?" And I feel like the universe going, "Have you tried nurturing it? Have you tried nurturing it? Have you tried nurturing it? Have you tried building into that sense of working through something in a way that allows the possibility of something to energetically grow, because and this is a continuation of working through a healthy manifestation goal, which is a healthy manifestation goal is one that we bring our emotions with us, right? It's like BYOJ when it comes to a healthy manifestation goal, which is bring your own joy, right? Because if you're working towards a manifestation goal and you're profoundly unhappy, right? If you're absolutely miserable, but you say to yourself, "I'm miserable. I'm totally miserable. But if I get that thing, I won't be miserable." No, you won't. You will not find joy on the end of the journey if you're not growing it along the way. There's no modality by which there's anything that you will find that will bring you joy unless you carry it with you every step of the way. And so that's why I keep on seeing, right? Like this is a lot of the energy that's saying like joy on the journey. And the reason that we articulate joy on the journey is the modality by which we articulate and say it's not just the fact that I want that thing. I want to find joy on the journey on the way of getting to it. I want every step in the direction towards that manifestation goal to be an energetic celebration. I want every moment of moving towards something to be just as joyful as the day that I arrive to that destination. Because when we do that, this is what we talk about in relationality to a healthy manifestation goal that changes us as we arrive to it. Because it is the ability of being able to recognize and identify the shape of our intention that allows us to understand that the manifestation goal is the song of transformation. It allows us to be able to find ourselves on the way of becoming towards it, but not, and this is often how we damage relationships, right? This is what we talk about with the relationship that gets damaged, because especially in the modality, the fake premise that our happiness rests within a person is often exactly the reason that we never find a satisfactory relationship, because it's a modality that says, "Oh, I'm miserable now. I'm like totally miserable. Ah, but if I had that person, I'd be great." No, you wouldn't. No, you would be the same exact person, the same exact person. Now you just have them and they're sharing in the space by which you yourself feel that way. So I feel like there's a lot of this energy that is working towards, I keep on hearing working towards the modality and the ability of looking at situations, not from the perspective of saying, I want that, but the ability of articulating and saying, how do I nurture this? How do I facilitate this feeling? How do I build into the context of being able to energetically grow something? And the modality of doing that, this is what we talk about in relationality to opening. Like, this is why we have to be vulnerable, right? This is why we have to be vulnerable on in the way of moving towards a manifestation goal, because even in the space by which we energetically articulate upon that, we allow the context of being able to understand ourselves in a deeper way. And I feel like this is a lot of the masculine, and I like to see all of these different court cards in the heart space of masculine, because this is the energy that articulates upon, right? And I feel like this is often even in the space by which the masculine recognizes the difference in different relationships, the parts of ourselves that come out when we're nurturing different things in others, right? the parts of ourselves that we discover in the process of nurturing things in the relationship surrounding us. Now, this brings us back towards feminine energy. And for feminine energy right now, I'm going to be utilizing we're going to be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot. 3 cards, please. Come on. We've got here the High Priestess. We've got here the 5 of Pentacles in its reversal, and we also have here the Justice card in its upright. So let's talk a little bit about this energy. Here's the thing, like there's a little bit of this energy of feminine right now, and I kind of love this for feminine because it's like it's hands on the hips kind of energy. It's a lot of that like welcome to that Leo full moon. It's like I want to just like this is the feminine, and this is what we talk about with feminine, like navigating. Like let's talk about what sacred rage is, right? And the one thing I want to point out here that we're energetically seeing is working into, I just keep on identifying, it's working into the context of being able to energetically articulate upon something, right? Energetically articulate upon something in such a way that one is effectively amplifying and articulating upon one's own sense of energetic frustration, but not just, I keep on getting, not just the space of articulating upon frustration, but the modality and the experience by way of working through and articulating upon how we energetically feel about things, but not just how we energetically feel about things, but this space by which we emotionally articulate our own energetic frustration in relationality to effectively identifying the force of compassion is what I keep on seeing. And there's something really important there that we are identifying as it relates to feminine. And I like this too. Like, I feel like there's a lot of this feminine energy that has recognized the space of another person trying to energetically damage something in their name is what I keep on seeing. The modality by which, and this is a conversation about the difference, right? The conversation that is the effective difference between what it feels like to be loved, right? And often you'll notice this when somebody is too deep in their ego, right? When somebody is too deep in their ego, they will do something entirely because the ego demands it. And then they'll try to articulate that they did it for another person, right? It's the modality or the experience, the feminine energy getting so sick. I literally see fed up with energy that tries to create the false premise of another person doing something in such a way because they felt that they needed to energetically protect another. The modality by which another person says, I'm doing all of this for you. And this is the feminine almost, I see a lot of the feminine pushing back and being like, no, you're doing it for your ego and you're claiming you don't want to say that you're doing it for your ego. So you're utilizing the energy around you as a false shield, carrying a false shield of doing it for another when really it's the thing that you desire to do is what I keep on seeing. And the feminine energy working through modalities and experiences like that is almost the feminine saying, the love does not require the feminine to be protected in a way that the feminine does not consent to. I'm going to say that again. There is no love that requires the feminine to be protected in a way that the feminine does not consent to. But too often we see that a lot of that feminine energy has had to deal with circumstances or situations by which another person is being absolutely abominable, absolutely their worst version of self, and then trying in their delusional state to try to articulate the fact that they're doing it for the sake of another, never is the ego more unrestrained than modalities or experiences by which that is the shape of the healing that feminine has had to work through. The modality by which another person is going full tilt into whatever they possibly feel they want to do, anything they feel like they want to do, and then creating the false shield of articulating that they're doing it for the feminine. And this is why the feminine, like, I feel like this is a lot of the feminine moving into Leo, like moving into that Leo full moon, saying the feminine does not require protecting in ways that the feminine does not consent to. Because in that modality, this is often what creates so much of the energetic pain that we find in experiences. Understanding that is literally what coveting means. That is literally what coveting means, right? Coveting is doing something inappropriate and then saying, I'm doing it for your benefit. Failing to recognize it has more to do with the sense of trying to covet something than actually trying to energetically protect it. And I feel like a lot of the feminine is putting their foot down and being like, enough of that. Balanced, right? Balanced partnership is not based upon the feeling of trying to trying to effectively articulate, like, it's not the modality by which another person like identifies the space of going full deep. There's nothing romantic about going so deep into your ego that you're doing things that another person would prefer that you did not do, is what I keep on hearing. And so for a lot of the feminine working through that, there's like a lot of energetic volatility that's potentially coming up that feels like proportional in relationality to the feminine being able to identify and recognize their own energetic sense of stabilization. Now, for non-binary energy moving into the heart space of non-binary, let's get 3 cards, please. And we're going to be utilizing the Tarot del Fuego for this energy. 3 cards, please. Ooh, got 2 cantilevered. Okay. We've got here the Hermit card in its upright, the 8 of Swords in its cantilevered, and the 6 of Wands cantilevered. And I think that there's something, I feel like there's something really important that we identify that's happening right now with non-binary energy and being able to effectively articulate and recognize their own energetic boundaries is what I keep on seeing. And there's something really, I feel like there's something really important about that work, because everything that I'm identifying in relationality to the force of intention, being able to effectively, I keep on seeing, like, and I want to point this out. I feel like this energy has often had the experiences or the modalities by which I keep on seeing, like, the space by which we effectively navigate or articulate in relationality of trying to, I keep on hearing, like, the space that we are building into in the context of being energetically appreciated is the modality by which another person does not feel the sense of constantly energetically leaning upon us, is what I keep on seeing. And there's something really energetically important there as it relates. Like, I just keep on seeing a lot of this energy that builds an exhaustion point in relationality to others energetically leaning upon them. And this is why those 2 cards were being, like, are cantilevered. And everything I keep on seeing there has to do, right, with the identification, right? The identification of energetic appreciation in relationality to, like, I keep on hearing, in relationality to, like, what we do for one another or how we energetically work. And here's the thing about it, you know, a healthy, stable, like, I keep wondering, a healthy, stabilized relationship is one by which it doesn't always I keep wondering, it doesn't always have to be proportional, right? And this is what we talk about when we speak about the equanimity of partnership. The equanimity found in partnership does not always mean that something is energetically split down the middle. The equanimity that we find in healthy partnership is the modality of being able to build an energetically supportive environment for one another, right? It's recognizing a deficit and being able to deliver. I keep wondering, the deficit that we're able to energetically deliver upon is what I keep on hearing. And this is how we find equanimity in relationality to relationship and why we don't build into. And this is why there is a false illusion in terms of an even split. Why can't you have an even split upon things? Because when you recognize that everybody has and when everybody has their positives and their negatives, when everybody has something that they energetically excel in versus something that they need help with, what becomes equanimical is the space by which we are able to supply and provide upon each other's deficit. That builds the fabric of healthy relationship. Often when we try to split something entirely, we end up splitting the fabric of relationship, because in the modality by which we're trying to do something that is exactly even, we're not taking into consideration the energetic deficit that we're finding one another in. So the modality by which we recognize that is how we effectively arrive, and this is how we effectively arrive towards the space of being able to effectively allow for the place of being able to provide what is energetically needed, right? It's the space by which we energetically communicate and facilitate upon those modalities. And I feel like this is something that's really important right now for the energy that's working through that space, because I often see, right? I often see that this is the energy by which, right? Like the modality by which others lean upon them, but then don't often come into the space of others answering their own energetic needs, right? Like it's the modality by which another person asks for something, but in the context by which another person doesn't receive something back for it. And so I feel like there's something really important in relationality to that, because I feel like this energy has become very, very highly attenuated. I feel like I see this energy having become very, very highly attenuated to noticing, to being able to energetically pay attention to modalities or experiences by which another person tries to take energetic advantage of them. But not just the fact that they're taking energetic advantage, the space by which another person, right? I keep wondering, the space by which another person is constantly in, I keep on hearing, constantly in the modality of energetically working through something, right? But not being energetically, like I keep on hearing, not the modality or experience by which another is able to facilitate or recognize what feels energetically reciprocal in terms of what it is that they are effectively getting back from them. And so I feel like for a lot of the energy, facilitating or working through situations and circumstances of that nature, I feel like that's a lot of the energy that does the work of building into, right? Building into a sense of patience, right? Being patient with themselves, but also, right? Not allowing, right? Not allowing another person's expectations to cloud their own perception of what is energetically occurring, is what I keep on seeing. And so for a lot of the energy doing that work, I just keep on seeing, it's like I keep on getting this. And I like to point this out, like generous energy must always be very conscientious of navigating their own energetic standards, because it's the modality and the experience of being able to articulate and recognize the shape of, I keep wondering, the shape of another's energetic appreciation versus the modality that will often ask for something and then ask for more and then ask for more and then ask for more and then be surprised when something breaks, because it's the space by which another person is just looking towards another as a resource instead of as an individual. And so I feel like there's something important there, and I feel like it's beautiful too, because I feel like for a lot of counterpart, like it's almost like counterpart helping, like helping in the space of identifying that like identifying the preciousness of another's energetic generosity. Now, continuing to get clarification, moving into the unconscious of masculine energy, and we're going to be utilizing for the unconscious of masculine right now. We're going to be utilizing the tarot. No, we're going to be utilizing the Aquarian tarot, please. 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. We've got here, we've got the World card in its reversal. We've got the King of Cups in its upright, as well as the Ace of Swords in its upright. So what are we effectively seeing that's happening right now in the unconscious of masculine? I like to see that the King of Cups is really beautiful there, because the King of Cups speaks to us. The King of Cups effectively speaks to us in relationality to working through circumstances or experiences by which I keep on seeing, um and this is the hard part about it, because this is like this is a lot of the masculine energy that is getting better at recognizing, I feel like the recognizing the modality or experience of being able to build into energetically supportive relationship. And a lot of that work that I keep on seeing, like, and it's interesting too, because it like this is what we like the world card, like I just want you to see these cards together, right? Like, looking at these 3 cards together, we basically have the journey that effectively articulates, that says masculine recognizing, never are they more nurtured, right? Never is masculine more nurtured than with someone that helps them see their energetic blind spots, right? The modality or experience by which another tries to effectively show another person something is a gift. But what happens, right? What happens when we're too deep in our ego? When we're too deep in our ego, another person trying to show us a blind spot, we only experience as criticism. And then in the modality by which we experience criticism, right? We move away from the thing that's trying to energetically support us in the space by which we don't recognize or identify the love that comes through being able to see something with more clarity. And so everything I keep on seeing for a lot of the energy basically facilitating upon that work is a continuation of being able to recognize. I feel like this is potentially like, and this is what we mean why it's so important to be able to come into the path work, like healthy sexuality is not about just holding on to indulgent thoughts, right? Like, much like, and I want to point this out, like much like if your spirituality can't hold, can't hold in the space of seeing something, it's not spirituality, it's indulgence, right? The modality by which one works to effectively see hard things is the proportionality of how energetically spiritual you are, because it's the modality by which that's where the work should go, right? It's not the space by which we energetically avoid it, because that's just building into the indulgence of the self. And so I feel like that's a lot of the masculine energy that says, like, that recognizes or holds, right? This is the energy that says, in order to be able to build into healthy relationship, I must be willing to be able to see hard things about myself, right? Because in the modality by which another person shows us things or helps us see things, that is exactly the sound of the healing being applied. And so this is what we talk about in relationality to a relationship, the relationship that's for you, will often feel the space by which it's challenging you in the best way possible, right? Because it's not challenging you in the space by which another person is putting you down or energetically insulting you, but it's the space by which one must be able to confront the parts of the self that one could not see when one was in energetic solitude. That is what it feels like. That is the sound of our own expansion. This is what we talk about with an awakening process. It's being able to see things that you couldn't see before. And so this is a lot of that energy that says when I am vulnerable, I allow myself to see more, and the ability of understanding the relationships that often will help us see things that we could not see build into the expansion of possibility and relationality to who we can become. While for feminine energy right now, 3 cards for feminine, and we'll be utilizing the Tarot del Fuego for the unconscious of the feminine. 1, 2, 3. 3 cards, please. We've got here, we got the Queen of Cups in its upright. We've got the 9 of Swords in its reversal, and we also have the Page of Cups in its reversal. So there's a lot of Page of Cups energy. There's a lot of Page of Cups energy on the table right now. So let's talk a little bit about it. Because the Page of Cups energy, like the Page of Cups energy is like, I literally hear the feminine saying to some masculine, like to some counterpart energy, get your name out of my mouth. Like, you wanna get your name out of my mouth. Get your and this is why I feel like this is why the feminine is saying get your name out of my mouth, because the modality by which an ego runs rampant, right? The modality by which an ego runs rampant and tries to articulate that they're doing something for the sake of protecting the feminine. This is why I hear a lot of the feminine saying, get your name out of my mouth, which says, bear in mind what you're doing right now has nothing, right? Has nothing to do, like has nothing to do with feminine energy. When we're working through a rampant ego, it has to do with the context of the self. And so a lot of that energy that I effectively see is like, again, it's working through, I keep on hearing the feminine that builds into the healthy relationship, that builds into the partnership, that says I nurture, right? I nurture the feminine, right? This is the feminine that says I don't want to be protected, I want to be nurtured. I don't want to be protected. I want to be nurtured. Feminine wants a place by which, again, they can be in an environment by which they can arrive and thrive, arrive and thrive. That's what it feels like to be nurtured. And always, every time, right? Every time feminine gets in relationship with energy that starts to damage the partnership, what does the energy often start saying? I'm trying to protect you, and being like, stop trying to protect me. Work on the nurturing part. Work on the nurture. Don't, like, there's nothing more dangerous to feminine than being in a relationship where another person is claiming that the feminine needs protecting, because that is not something that the feminine articulates that they need. Feminine needs to be nurtured, not protected, because when someone's trying to protect feminine, they're really coveting feminine, which is the modality by which the feminine does not feel like they are in balanced relationship. So I feel like that's a lot of the feminine that's effectively articulating and being energetically clear upon that. Feminine does not desire protecting. They desire nurturing. And nurturing is the difference. Protecting is coveting. It's the modality by which you see something and say, I need to do things beyond your own capacity to agree with them, right? Versus the energy that is nurturing, which is the space by which one says, I want to do everything possible to facilitate you being your best version of self. While for non-binary energy right now, 3 cards, we're going to be utilizing the Nouveau Tarot for the unconscious of non-binary. We've got here the 3 of Wands in its reversal. We've got here the Hermit card in its upright. And we also have here the Lover's card in its upright. So what are we effectively seeing? And here's the thing about it, man. The thing about this energy is I feel like this energy often feels like they're in the modality by which they have to serve as pathfinder. And it is a lonely energetic place to be. Because when one is working in terms of the space of being pathfinder, it's often the space by which you're trying to guide something forward and the modality by which others will energetically misperceive you, right? The modality by which another person will, like, I keep on hearing, and this is what's hard when you effectively understand the direction that something needs to go in. Never will you encounter, right? Never will you encounter the hurdle of another person's, like, limitation than in the modality by which you're trying to guide something forward in the best way possible, right? It's like I feel like there's a lot of this energy that often feels the strain of, like, working through something and literally doing everything possible to guide something into the right direction. But then even in the modality of navigating through a lot of that energy, working into the situation and circumstance of often being, I keep on hearing, the energy that guides often has to navigate the full force of others' projections. It's like it goes it's the energy that goes through it so that others don't have to. And the modality by which, like, I just keep on seeing there's that upon the understanding of what is energetically happening, which they recognize it. I keep on seeing it still hurts, right? It's like working deeply into the context of the Chiron journey, which is the modality that says that, a healthy journey is not the space by which something is like you don't go numb, right? Like when you're navigating something, you don't go numb, you feel it even more. And every time it's like I feel like this energy that says like almost says it's hard because their journey is not one by which something gets easier. It's the journey by which they just get stronger in the space of navigating something that is energetically painful. And I feel like the hard part about that is often those experiences or modalities by which one has to feel like carries the weight in relationality to the fact that it doesn't have to be that way, right? It doesn't have to be that way if others were also in the space of having energetic consideration, particularly and especially as it relates to what it means to build into the space of what feels energetically equitable. Because I often feel like this is the energy that often feels that they have to lean in and carry the weight of others' energetic deficits. Bottom of the deck for masculine energy, one card to clarify, we're gonna be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot, 8 of Cups in its reversal. I feel like there's a lot of energy I see of masculine working into, and I need to describe this, right? Wisdom, we receive wisdom in the space by which we see something that we could not see before, right? Inner child healing, this is what we talk about with inner child healing. It is healing the part of the self that thought that one knew everything. And so I just keep on recognizing for a lot of that energy, being able, like, it can sometimes feel energetically, this is what we talk about with others helping each other see one, like the gift that we have when we're energetically supportive of each other is helping each other recognize each other's blind spots. But when we're too young, right? When we're too young, we will often push away the energy that cares about us the most because when we're deep in our ego and another person is trying to say like, "Hey, I'm really trying to show you something. It's energetically important," right? And you say, "I'm gonna go," right? I'm gonna go, right? You often have those modalities by which you recognize or identify something, like beyond the point by which one is able to see it. And so for a lot of the energy, I feel like that the shape of that healing, kind of working through those modalities or experiences right now, by which I feel like I almost see like masculine looking back upon some relationships and being like, that person was trying to help me. Right? Like that person was sticking their neck out for me, right? The modality of looking at a situation by which another person articulates, like, trying to help us through something, but even in the space by which one has to, like, have that difficult conversation, I feel like that's a lot of the energy, like, I feel like that's a lot of the energy building into the space of recognizing that the understanding of that is the energetic gift, right? Because it's the arrival into the understanding that allowed the context by which like, I keep on hearing, coming into the understanding of us arriving to the full understand like, clarity of ourselves that often carries the weight of those who effectively tried to articulate or show us something before the modality by which we were ready to arrive to that understanding. So it's okay to hold oneself gently as you're navigating that journey because it can often feel energetically heavy. While we recognize for feminine energy right now, Tarot del Fuego, bottom of the deck, 5 of Cups in its reversal. And a lot of that 5 of Cups in its reversal. And this is what I keep on hearing. Like, remember when I said feminine being like, get your name, get your name out of my get my name out of your mouth. Because this is the feminine that has had real trauma, right? Has had absolutely real trauma in relationality to another person trying to articulate. There is nothing more traumatizing than someone actively in the space of hurting you. But in the context by which they hurt you, they try to articulate that they're doing it for the sake of one's own person. Because this is the accutation of feminine energy, right? Feminine energy is tired of being seen as cute. And what do we mean by cute? Cute is something that cannot make energetic decisions for itself, that needs to be energetically tended, right? The modality by which another person tries to acute does not create a balanced relationship. It's the modality by which another person sees one as a possession instead of a person. And so this is the feminine that articulates to counterpart and says, I am not in relationship unless you acknowledge my personhood. The modality by which, again, an energetic relationship is one by which the feminine is energetically nurtured, not the space by which another person says, I need to protect you from everything around you. Because often this is the shape of the feminine that has had to move away from energy that was hurting them in the space of claiming that they love them, but they didn't love them. They were letting their ego go loose in the space of effectively doing things that the feminine did not desire energetically done, but all in the space of trying to articulate to another that they were doing something for the benefit of the feminine. So this is the feminine that says enough of that, right? That if you care about feminine, you don't say, I need to protect feminine. You say, I need to nurture feminine. And the way that you nurture feminine is you open your ears and you listen to what the feminine has to say about it, is what I keep on hearing. So feminine's basically like, look, if you care about me, lend me your ear. Right? If you care about me, lend me your ear. Well, for non-binary energy, and we got the Nouveau Tarot here. Queen of Wands in its reversal. And this is the thing about it, like, the Queen of Wands in its reversal here for, like, for non-binary is just, like, it's working, like, this is why we can't have nice things. This is why we can't have nice things. Because this is what I keep on seeing that often happens in the modality of this energy, right? The modality by which the energy that is so acutely aware of being able to recognize a deficit, right? The modality by which one is able to be aware of a deficit is often the modality by which you cannot heal a deficit unless another person, unless another person is equally invested in healing the energetic deficit. right? Like, this is the energy that literally articulates the energy around the self. I cannot do it. I cannot do it for you. And the modality by which the energy effectively amplifies or articulates, right? Having to effectively, like, work through their own ability of not feeling like they have to energetically pick up the slack, right? Like, the feeling of not always feeling the space by which they are effectively such a place by which they're always putting, like, they're always giving their 110% to things. They're always trying to do something as carefully and as hard as possible. But the modality by which they've had to learn, right? They've had to build healthy boundaries in the space of how others appreciate that gift that they bring to things, right? And I keep on hearing, like, that's why I feel like a lot of that energy works through the modality of saying, my energy is a gift. An energy that is appreciative of the gift does not demand upon it. They appreciate and they effectively reciprocate back in kind. I feel like there's a lot of that energy that works through something. But even in the modality by which they energetically work through things, I feel like it's hard because even in the space by which they're giving something to everything, in the space by which, like I keep on hearing, the space by which they try to hold their own energetic boundaries and another person tries to articulate that they're not being kind, I can hear that energy saying, who's being unkind? Right? Is the kindness reflective in relationality to how another person experiences or feels something? Or is that kindness effectively articulated and dictated in the space of another person, constantly being attentive to the fact that another person is there to effectively navigate others' deficits, is what I keep on seeing. And so I feel like that's a lot of the energy that feels like informed but still hurts, right? Like it's hard to see, but it never I keep on hearing the energy saying, "When did you get over that?" And the energy saying, I've never gotten over it. It's hurt every single moment in the context of being able to effectively continue through, even as one is experiencing it, but not allowing that context to change the shape or nature of one's own heart. That is where we find that is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a personal reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I would encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who participated in our recent class on the World Card. Our next tarot class will be held on Thursday, February 19th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the sword suite of the court cards. If you would like to become part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you an update on everything we've studied prior to beginning that class, but it's a great time to join if you do want to bone up on a few classes before we have the next class. And you'll have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member to my stack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you'll also you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. And you'll also have access to the opportunity of receiving a complimentary mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally and assess where you are on your personal tarot journey to give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do with these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my Mystic Meditation articles there, which will let you know what we've been seeing energetically in the cards. I'm going to be releasing one shortly on this full moon that we've got coming up. I also would encourage you to head over there to learn more about a very special retreat that we'll be hosting this August. We will be traveling to Italy to study the tarot in the location by which the tarot was able to effectively first be documented to be discovered and where the tarot was able to grow and thrive. We'll be sharpening our tarot skills, and everybody who participates in that retreat will not only be receiving one-on-one training with me, but will also be eligible in receiving a complimentary mentorship class. If you sign up for that retreat before the end of this month, you are also eligible for a $200 discount to that retreat. So make sure that you head over to the Big Tree in my bio to learn more, or head over to my stack. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or biweekly, as your schedule permits. Also, for my students seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings. Again, weekly or biweekly as your schedule permits so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings, which you can purchase per dream or as a series. If you purchase a series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or biweekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.